No, it is a win against the richest man in the world. Those are the words from Susan Crawford, the Democratic-backed candidate for Wisconsin Supreme Court, as she defeated a challenger endorsed by President Donald Trump and the billionaire Elon Musk. The win cementing a Liberal majority for at least 3 more years. Musk and groups that he backed had spent more than $21 million in an effort to defeat Crawford. He even travelled to Wisconsin 2 days before the election to personally hand over $1 million checks to 2 voters. Well, let's start by hearing from Crawford.
Today, Wisconsinites fended off an unprecedented attack on our democracy. That's right. Our fair elections and our Supreme Court. And Wisconsins stood up and said loudly that justice does not have a price. Our courts are not for sale.
Susan Crawford there. Well, Philip Turler, International Affairs Editor, is with me now. Philip, what does this say, do you think, about the current state of US politics?
Well, first of all, Wisconsin is a swing state. It's not a state that's very well known outside of the United States. Within the country itself, it's known for cheese, basically cheddar, mozzarella, and Munster. That was why Elon Musk had a cheese stuck on his head the other day when he was there trying to garner up support for Brad Schimmel. But it is a swing state, as I said, so it does have an importance when it comes to deciding who is going to be running the country during presidential elections. And this was a very interesting test of Donald Trump's popularity and also that of Elon Musk. But there are some questions. Was this basically the victory of Susan Crawford over Brad Schimmel from the Republican Party? Was it just a rejection of Donald Trump and his MAGA politics, Make America Great Again politics, or was it really an endorsement for the Democrats? Was this just a one-off victory for the Democrats for a court that already had a liberal edge of 4-3? And I think another question that's interesting was Trump won in Wisconsin in November by less than a percentage point. That was the closest margin of any state. What is in the political base? What is that political base now in Wisconsin? And it appears that although the voter turnout for this kind of election normally is not very high, this time round it was high because of the political situation in the United States and the fact that there was a high voter turnout due to voters really being energized by the decision to go out and wanting to go out to have the say about what was going to happen in their state, whether or not it was going to change anything in the White House.
A lot of questions being asked about the role played by Elon Musk. As we said, he sunk millions into this, didn't he?
And I think that the big loser in this story, obviously, Brad Schimmel, the Republican candidate, but the big loser is Elon Musk because of all the money he put into this campaign, $12.2 million for Schimmel, $277 million he put into Donald Trump's campaign back in November. But it obviously didn't work. And people are not pulled in by the fact that this was the most expensive judicial contest in US history, $90 million spent in all by both sides, Musk's involvement involving questions about his personal interests in the election outcome. And also, the court decisions that can be taken now are going to impact abortion rates, labor rights, and election rules, which is something that the Republican Party, and in particular Elon Musk, have been banging on the table about, saying this is a threat to democracy. You have to vote for Brad Schimmel because otherwise the whole country is going to go to the dogs, basically. Well, that message didn't get through. So putting your hand in your pocket to pull out millions to try to buy voter attention obviously has its limits. And I think that is obviously also going to open questions about just where the relationship between Donald Trump and Elon Musk is concerned. And even when it came down to the millions that were handed over to Susan Crawford, one of the people who contributed a lot of money to her campaign was the Illinois governor, J.B. Pritzker. And he just said afterwards, well, please let Elon get involved in election campaigns, future election campaigns in the United States, because obviously if he does, that's going to move things towards the Democrats. So a lot of questions being raised about whether or not Elon Musk still has that golden touch to push voters to vote for the Republicans.
Phil, we've got two other litmus tests as well that have been going on. This is two Florida congressional districts. In the end, two Republicans won, didn't they? But vastly reduced majority. So it's difficult to see exactly where the litmus test, if you see, is if you like, is taking us.
Okay, well, an embarrassment for Trump in Wisconsin and a costly defeat for Musk there, but slightly better news for them in. For these two candidates, Jimmy Patronis and Randy Fine in Florida. Randy Fine replacing Mike Waltz, who's now become the National Security Advisor. Jimmy Patronis replacing Matt Gaetz, who was the failed nominee for the Attorney General. That figure there was the House of Representatives before the election, with 218 seats for the Republicans, 213 for the Democrats. That's now gone up to 220 for the Republicans with these two victories. Okay, great news for the Republicans, great news for Donald Trump. He is taking more control of Florida. There's not really this bounce off effect by Ron DeSantis, who's not in league with Donald Trump, critical of Donald Trump. That seems to have now completely disappeared into the woodwork. But there are one or two questions that need to be raised in this. And I think the first one is that Donald Trump won by more than 30 points in November. That has considerably shrunk with this election. And that is something I think that the Republicans are going to have to ask questions about. And the other question is, do the Democrats see a chink of light now in the tunnel after what happened in Wisconsin and what is happening in Florida, where they didn't expect to win, but I think maybe they didn't expect the margins to be so close, or as close as they were in this election. So disaffection with Donald Trump's policies, but is this a vote against Donald Trump, or is this a vote in favor of the Democrats? I think that is the question we have to ask right now.
Philip,